Hi, and welcome to Watercolor with Sonia. Today we're going to do a little bit of an eagle that I had taken many years ago at Ambleside in Vancouver. Actually, Ambleside is an area right on the West Vancouver area along the shore. And this eagle had come down on a rainy day into the rocks and actually had had a seagull in its claws, which wasn't great to have to look at. However, it was fantastic to actually be that close to it. So today we're going to envision it with a different background behind it, more of a Pacific Northwest background with trees and mountains, and it's still sitting on the rocks, but there's nothing in its claws. So I'm just trying to find my photo that I took of it when I painted it in watercolor. Here it is. And so we're leaving some whites here and here, and the rest is a combination of browns and grays and a little bit of yellow for the beak, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we'll start off with a little bit of background. I'm going to keep the brushes small because actually I'll bring it a little bit, it'll be faster if I do it with a bigger brush. So I'm going to use a ultramarine blue, just looking for some scrap paper right there, and I think I'd like a little bit lighter, so I'm going to add a little bit of cobalt turquoise there. We'll get a nice bit of sky back there. This is wet on dry, and I'm just going around the eagle's wings here. Now it's a beautiful day today, very warm, so my watercolors will dry almost instantly. But if I want it quickly to add in some cloud, I could just take some tissue and try and dab a little bit out. Because it is so warm and drying so fast, it might be a little bit more difficult, so we'll leave it at that. The other thing would be to take a quick bit of Chinese white and add a little bit of that in there, but my brush has too much color, so I don't think that's going to happen. I can dab it again here and see if I can get any more of that just to make it interesting. There, quick background. Now, in terms of the mountains, we want them to be a darker gray or blue, bluish color, so I'm going to add a little bit of ultramarine blue and a little bit of gray, trying to make it just a little bit darker. So we'll put that in there as our base of, let's add a little snow in there. And so that's in the background here. And then we're going to have, from there on in, I'm going to leave a little white in between the lines here. We're going to have trees. So basically moving on, oh, we can use the water here. We can use this color for the water too. Here we go. Just bring it right in around the rocks. So this would be probably a lake of some sort, the shoreline here. A little dry brushing to give it a little bit of texture. Okay, and I was talking about the trees. So I'm going to use a olive green and just mix it in with what I've got here currently, and now I'm just going to add in some nice trees coming through here. Now I'd like it to kind of fuse in with the blue. Try and get it right behind the eagle here. Leave a little white on the edge if you like. We're going to do this back here too. Okay, we need a little dark, so we can use gray and yellow or gray with the green, and it'll just give it a much darker image. And we can do some reflection if you wanted to, a little bit in the water too. Let's put it in. The other side. Try and just get some of those tips of those trees a little diffused. Okay, add a little bit more gray if you want to for just a bit of dark in there. All right, And then we can just even put just tiny bits of line across get the idea that it's actually water. Maybe, there we go. There. Okay, so for our area in the front, it's going to be more of a gray, maybe a little bit of yellow ochre kind of mixture. Oh, that's a bit too gray. Let's go in and just lighten that up. Okay, and just add a little bit of the yellow ochre so that we can get some kind of a different variation on color here. Okay, so if we wanted to, something like this, you could definitely dab up to get some texture, or scrape even with your finger to get some different effects on the rocks. Okay, we'll leave it like that. All right, so now we're going to work on the actual eagle. So I mentioned grays, so we're going to go in and we're just going to quickly add some nice feathers in here. We're trying to watch, it should be almost dry now, and just give that feeling of those feathers back there. Now this area was white. This is definitely really dark down here where his pantaloons were. So I'm going to go right in there and just quickly add the nice dark in there. Under his neck where the white was, definitely was lovely. Add a bit of texture there. And there, this is where the white is, and then we're going to just add a little bit of feathering around that edge of that white. And then the eagle's wings came around like this, and then more feathering, and then there's another bit of texture in there with a little different color, and I'm going to add some brown in here in just a moment. So I'm using burnt umber, and just adding that in, and maybe a little bit of yellow ochre, just to give it a bit of interest. And then just bringing, maybe I'll take the yellow ochre with a different brush. That may be too small. And brushing in a bit of that golden feathering. Okay, now for the head, it's just very light. I'm just going to bring some gray into the side here if you can see it. Mix it up a bit. And we'll start with the neck a bit, just a little gray on the bottom here with a little bit of texturing for the feathers. Up here, his eye just got really nice and dark, and then it was really soft. I'm just going to take that and add water to it and soften it. Whoops, that's a bit too much. So we're going to just dab that all out. Here we go. And put that in there. Now we need the yellow for the beak. And so I would recommend a warm yellow, say a cad yellow light. Right now I'm mixing and I'm getting a bit of green here because I had other colors in here, so I'm going to clean that out. And also my water's getting dark, so that doesn't help either, so let's just get that beak in there. And his talons would have similar coloring as well. Could add a little bit of yellow ochre if we found that it was just too bright. Okay, and then finally, we're just going to add just that little bit of, again, it's a bit wet there. And we'll add some shadowing into the white of the wings. Okay, now we could spatter for texture, or we could just add a little bit of dry brushing here to get some of the shadows on the rocks. We could add a little bit of green now back in here for some moss effect if we wanted to. Now as it dries, we can add in a little bit more texture on some of the wing features. Maybe even a little bit more detail into the trees here. Would use a smaller, thinner brush. I have another one here, a 2. And I can come back in with a little bit of blue, I think, and just add it just a bit more texturing in here. that's a bit too much, but dab that out a bit just to make it interesting. You could add a little bit of yellow in there too, just for some interest. And we'll put a little turquoise in here too, just also to give it a little bit of interest. Now, this is not showing up well enough, so I'm going to add a little bit more of my coloring here of the green. And just darken that up a bit. And then I'm going to darken just along here so that there's a bit more dark there. And here, that's it. And as far as the beak having any kind of dark, you don't really need that, but just to kind of get that definition in there. Now there would be some reflection on the rock, so we could add a little bit more of that gray for a bit of shadow. Line along the coast. Alright, and there's your eagle. I'll just give it a quick John Henry here. Thank you very much for watching our eagle demo.